Hey friends, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about Abdullah's ultimate truth. You are the creator of your life. Now in this video, we're going to go over the 6 fundamental keys to Abdullah's teachings, how he taught Neville Goddard. Now some of you in this video are going to be introduced to Abdullah. Like, who is he? Where did he come from? And some of you already know, or at least know a little bit. Where we kind of come up with Abdullah is Abdullah directly mentored Neville Goddard. So if you love Neville Goddard, if you love law of assumption, you're really going to want to watch this video because we're going to go into the core teachings of what Abdullah trained Neville Goddard. So that's what we're going to discuss today. So lo and behold, let's dive into Abdullah's ultimate truth. You are the creator of your life. So how we're going to break this up is I'm going to use kind of both, go back and forth, just because I can get my thoughts out more clearly and not skip over any needed information. So when you talk about Abdullah, and I'm going to read some stuff to you, is Abdullah's teachings revolved around the revolutionary idea that you are not separate from the divine. You are divine in action. So I'll highlight this for you right here, that you are not separate from the divine. You are the divine in action. So what is really meant by that is you are not separate from God. You know, God is inside you. Okay, and this is kind of where kind of the rubber meets the road here. And Neville Goddard brings this up, you know, in some of his live lectures. When he talks about Abdullah, when Neville Goddard was raised in a Christian household. So Neville Goddard kind of knew really kind of the basics, or their strong basics to the Bible and religion and Christianity growing up. But he kind of knew it kind of how most people know it today. You know, like when you're taught as a kid, most of the time the teachings kind of God is separate from you. God lives on the clouds like the Care Bears. you get what I'm saying? But as an adult, you really kind of believe that. You kind of really believe God is separate from you. God is, you know, lives up in the sky or lives in heaven. Heaven is separate from us. But when Neville Goddard when he first met Abdullah, what he said about Abdullah was that Neville kind of thought he understood the Bible, but when he met Abdullah understood it tremendously different from the rest of the people. But Abdullah understood the Bible by law, meaning the laws of the universe. That's how Abdullah understood the Bible, by the Bible commandments and law, not by just history of the Bible. Most people just understand the history, but not what the Bible really, really means when it comes to abundance, when it comes to your birthright. So that's how Abdullah taught Neville Goddard. So that's what it means here when Abdullah is teaching and he's saying, you are not separate from the divine. You are divine in action. You are God in action. If you really believe and can believe that God is inside you, heaven is within you, abundance is your birthright, the Holy Spirit is inside you, that means you're not separate from God, but God lives inside you. This ultimate truth means that you, as an individual, have the inherent power to create and manifest your reality through your thoughts, beliefs, and imagination. Isn't that so true? If God lives inside you, I read it one more time because this is so powerful. If God lives inside you, this ultimate truth means you have the inherent power to create and manifest your reality through your thoughts, beliefs, and imagination. So through what you're thinking day in and day out, that's coming into your reality. Okay, this is where we get, like, if you don't like things happening right now in your life, that's just the manifesting of past thoughts and beliefs. It's from your past, because it's what you're thinking in the past is what you're experiencing right now. And when you talk about beliefs here, you know, I'm right down here with beliefs. Beliefs is really the law of belief. Is what you believe to be true is true. Okay, what I believe to be true for me is true. Okay, so when you talk about the law of belief, is nobody really is ever wrong. Okay, let me explain this. If I'm right and you're right, how that works in the manifesting world, how that works in abundance, is that what you believe to be true will be shown to you in your world. And what I believe to be true will be shown to me. So in other words, we're both right. Okay, we can debate all day long about what we believe, or what you believe. If you don't believe law of attraction is real, if you don't believe abundance is your birthright, if you believe that we have to wake up and live in poverty, if that's what you believe, that would be shown to you in your 3D world. That's what you will experience. But if I believe the opposite, if I believe abundance is mine, abundance is my birthright, well, that will be shown to me as well. So that's what we have to understand. The law of belief works in both. It just comes down to what you believe. Okay, and your imagination. We all imagine. Lots of times when Neville Goddard talks about imagination creates reality, a lot of us struggle with this, but we're using our imagination all day long. For example, really fast, is if I don't want to, if today's Sunday, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, my mind drifts off, and I imagine, having to deal with my boss all day, getting into imaginary arguments with him. So we use our imagination. We're really good with it. But we really use our imagination in reverse. We really use our imagination for things that we don't want, things that we don't like, things we don't want to happen. That's how we're using our imagination. But this is kind of like the law of karma a little bit, meaning that, what I'm imagining, what I'm thinking about all day long, and what I believe is actually coming to me. So I'm in control of my reality. So let's continue on here. Then we're kind of going to dive into these 6 things. Understanding and embodying this truth transforms your entire existence and puts the responsibility for your life squarely in your hands. And with it, infinite potential. So basically, what Abdullah is trying to say here in this little introduction is we're responsible for our own life. What's happening in our own life, we're responsible for it. So that's really probably the hardest thing for people to grasp. If you don't like what's happening in your life, it's hard for people to grasp that you created it. Like, if I don't like what's happening into my life, that I created it. Maybe I should get closer to the microphone here and say, I am, okay, I'm talking about everybody here, including myself, that we are responsible for what's happening in our own life. Does that make sense? You have to take responsibility. And this is the hardest concept for people to get, is that, well, I didn't cause this breakup. I didn't cause to go bankrupt. I didn't cause my family to live in poverty. I didn't cause all this. Okay? But really, did you? Okay? This is the thing that we have to come to terms with. And as we dive into this, hopefully there will be a little bit more clarity on this. And you'll kind of really believe how Abdullah trained Neville Goddard with the law of assumption. So let's continue on here. Number 1. Now we're going to start diving into these 6 core trainings. I'm going to try to move as fast as possible, but also put in my narrative as well and how to kind of explain this. But number 1 is I am. The name of God is within you. So this is where we get the power of I am, especially if you have experience with affirmations. That's why affirmations, I am affirmations, are very, very tremendous. They're very, very powerful. You have to understand this. And you have to understand too, what I want to put in here is how we really talk about ourselves when we're off guard. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're off guard, you're not thinking and you're just murmuring to yourself. You're venting to yourself. Sometimes you're venting to a friend or a family member. Okay, what are you saying when you're venting? Are you using I am statements in a negative way? Okay, what are you putting I am to? Because through Abdullah is saying, I am, the name of God is within you. So this is what Abdullah means. Abdullah emphasized that the phrase, I am, is the most sacred and powerful declaration a person can make because it connects you to the creative force of the universe. So when you're using an I am statement, that directly connects you to God. When you say, I am something, so I'm right here. When you say I am something, when you say I am powerful, I am rich, I am wealthy, I am abundant, you are not merely describing your current state. You are proclaiming a truth that shapes your reality. This is why Neville often stressed that whatever follows I am becomes your experience. Isn't it so true? Now Neville is learning from Abdullah, but this is why Neville always stressed, when you say I am something, when you say I am poor, well, that's going to become your experience. You have to understand that that's what's going to start working in your reality, because the power of I am is connected to that spiritual source right inside you that lives inside you. Now we're going to get into some powerful examples. We're going to pull in some examples. Plus, we're going to pull in some biblical Bible verses that kind of back this up as well. Since we're talking about Christianity, since we're talking about the Bible, since we're talking about God, is how does all this connect? For example, saying I am abundant aligns you with the frequency of abundance. Saying I am lucky brings more experiences that confirm that belief. Abdullah's truth is simple yet profound. You are the creator of your own experience because you are the one with the divine creative power. Isn't that so true? When Abdullah says here, Abdullah's truth is simple yet profound. When you're saying I am, you are the creator of your own experience because God lives inside you and God's the ultimate creator. And when we dive into this, even in the New Testament, even Jesus said with all his miracles he performed, he said to his disciples that you can do all these miracles. You can do whatever I can do. You can do all these things that I've shown you, that you've seen me do with your eyes. You can do as well, and you can do even more. You are the creator of your own experience because you are the one with the divine creative power. The Bible confirms this profound truth. Exodus chapter 3, verse 14 in the King James Version. Now, this is going to be rough for me to read, but this is the King James Version. But anyway, let's get going. Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shall thou say unto the children of Israel, I am has sent me unto you. This verse, and the meaning of this verse through Abdullah is this verse reveals God's name as I am. When you go really back to Genesis, and God says, I am the Alpha and Omega. I am the beginning and the end. So God himself, the Spirit, is using I am. He's using the power of I am. And this signifies eternal existence and infinite power. By using I am consciously, you tap into this divine identity. Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. I say this one more time with Proverbs. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. Your thoughts and declarations shape your reality, confirming the importance of aligning your I am statements with your desires. And you're going to find this to be true. This is how deep the Bible goes. Okay, this is why Neville Goddard said Abdullah understood the Bible way more deeply than anybody ever met in his life, but he understood it by the law, by commandments. And what is really meant by that is when we say God from the Bible, really in Hebrew or the Hebrew text, God means law. Okay? So if God means law, what is the law of God? The laws of the universe. Okay, what are universal laws? Universal laws is there's always a direct opposite. There's always a polar opposite from universal laws. If there's a hot, there has to be a cold. There's a up, there has to be a down. There's a left, there has to be a right. If there's a positive, there has to be a negative. Makes sense? If there's abundance, well, guess what? There has to be no abundance. If there's good, there has to be evil. Okay, so there's always a direct opposite. Okay, we take this a little bit further, and we talk about sin. Okay, what is sin? If we know sin that separates you from God, okay, this is what separates you from God is sin. But if God means law, sin means it separates you from law. Why would it separate you from law? Because you're not living in harmony with the law. If you're not living in harmony with universal law set by God, well, that's sin, but that's a separation. You're not living in harmony with it. Okay, so sin, when you get the 10 Commandments or how people like to interpret the Bible, and, they like to interpret it, well, I didn't think any dirty thoughts today. I didn't think about adultery today. And that's what people, I didn't go out drinking. I wasn't sitting in a bar today. People look at that as sin, but if you look at it in a deeper context, everybody is sinning because everybody has a separation from God. Even if you think that you don't deserve abundance, you're sinning because God lives inside you. Abundance is your birthright. Heaven is within you. This is why Jesus came. So anything that separates you from law, separates you from, if you're living not in harmony, if you believe in universal law, okay, if you believe, like, if I think positive, if I think good thoughts, good has to come to me. If I think bad thoughts and negative thoughts, well, negative has to come to me. Okay, now if I'm thinking negative thoughts and negative things are coming to me, I'm not living in harmony with the law. Living in harmony means that I'm thinking positive and good thoughts and good things are coming to me. That's living in harmony. But once I think negative things is going to come to me, I'm not living in harmony. In essence, I'm sinning. That's a separation between the law. That's a separation between God. So let's move on to number 2 here. Number 2 is imagination as a creative tool. So Abdullah really taught Neville that imagination creates reality. What you imagine all day long, what you think about imagine all day long is going to come into your world. You're going to see things manifesting and moving into your world as what you're thinking, imagining all day long. So Abdullah taught Neville that imagination is not fantasy. It is the seed of reality. Isn't it so true? And isn't it so that sad? Like when we kind of go through this, when you kind of think back when you're a kid and you try to think back as long as you can, before you went to school between 1 and 5, then you start going to preschool and kindergarten and the first grade. Isn't it kind of weird that either our parents teach us or try to beat it out of us, or our teachers do the same thing? Is that once we start imagining, we're in our imagination, we're creating the life around us, we're getting everything we want as a child. But yet our parents say, well, that's not what big boys do. That's not what big girls do. And our teachers do the same thing. So they pretty much try to beat it out of us that having a creative imagination is only for babies. Isn't it really weird? And this is why, as an adult, we really struggle with this type of material because it's really going back to our childhood. Abdullah taught Neville that imagination is not fantasy. It's not a fantasy that children do. Okay, yes, children do it, but it's not fantasy. It is the seed of reality. Whatever you imagine with feeling is planted in your subconscious mind and will grow into tangible reality. This means that you will have the ability to create your life consciously by imagining the outcomes you desire and feeling them as real. Okay, we all do this, but most of the time we do this on the negative side. And really the best example I can give is all off the top of my head is when we go to work. We have a job you don't like, you have a job that you hate, or maybe you don't get along with a boss. And every time you have the weekend off and it's Sunday night, maybe all day through Sunday, you naturally go inside your imagination because you don't want to go to work. You naturally go inside your imagination and you play, and you basically play negative arguments, make up arguments with your boss. And nothing has really occurred yet. But isn't it really funny when you do this, when you actually go to work, something similar happens to what you kind of imagined the day before. Isn't it so true? And I think that we've all experienced this. We've all had these types of experiences that, what I started thinking about came in my reality, but it's on a negative side of things. But we're always using our imagination for the negative. We're always using our imagination for what we don't like, what happened to us. Maybe I went out and got in my car and I noticed I got a flat tire and I say, oh, this always happens to me. I never can get ahead. So I start using I am statements for using this negative thing, and that's what keeps on occurring, almost a cycle of karma. So we are in control. Then let's continue. If you vividly imagine success, it will manifest. So whatever you imagine will manifest. If you imagine success, it will manifest. You will manifest success. If you imagine poverty, well, that's going to come to you as well. Because remember, everything works on the polar opposite. If you dwell on failure and fear, that too will manifest. Okay, if you're always dwelling, what dwell means is you're imagining, you're thinking about it over and over and over. You really believe it. Okay, on failure, things aren't going to work out. This always happens to me. Okay, I can never get ahead. First it's a flat tire, then I get up and stub my toe and break my toe. Okay, I go to work and get fired or laid off. Things just keep on happening because that's what you're dwelling on. If you dwell on failure, fear, things you don't like, things you don't want to do, well, that's manifesting to you. The truth is that your external world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world. Okay, this is the core hard truth. Okay, the truth is what you see on the outside in your 3D world. Okay, if I'm looking outside right now, there's a window right here. Okay, if I'm looking outside, this is what I'm seeing in my 3D world, what's happening to me in my 3D world. But your 3D world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world. What does that mean? Your inner world is your inner thoughts, your inner beliefs, your inner imagination. What are you thinking and imagining all day long? What are your deep-rooted beliefs? Okay, that's what's coming into your world. Then Abdullah says, change your inner state through imagination, and the outer world must conform to it. This is by law. Listen to this. Change your inner state, change your inner thinking, change your inner imagination, change your inner beliefs, and the outer world, listen, your outer world must change. Your outer world must conform to it. That's by law. That's by scripture. This is God's law. God is inside you. It has to conform to it. The Bible supports this by showing how vision and imagination integrate to faith. Now, when we talk about faith here, we're going to go inside faith, but this is what I want you to do with faith. What's another word for faith? Another word for faith is if you truly have faith in something, you believe. So use believe. Okay, when you truly believe something to happen, you expect it to happen. Does that make sense? So when you have faith in something, you expect it to happen. You believe it's going to happen. That's what faith means. A lot of us really struggle with this word faith because you have to interchange these words. Okay, if I have faith in something, I believe it's going to happen. If I believe something's going to happen, I expect it to happen. Okay, that's what faith means. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What does this really mean? This verse emphasizes that faith, that belief, that expectation involves imagining and believing in the unseen as if it is already real. Did you get that? Okay, now this is exactly how Abdullah taught Neville Goddard to use his imagination. Let me read that one more time, what this verse really means. Okay, but this is kind of deep here. I want you to walk away with this. Now faith is a substance. And now let's interchange this word faith here, belief. Now belief is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This verse emphasizes that faith, that belief, involves imagining and believing in the unseen as if it is already real. This is exactly what Abdullah taught Neville Goddard. Okay, what this means is your imagination. If you want your dream house, you're envisioning your dream house inside your imagination. So you can call forth from the power within you, you being a spirit of God, because God lives inside you. Remember this. As you can call the unseen to the seen. You have the power to do this. This is what imagination creates. You can whatever you imagine is you're bringing forth in the scene. You're bringing forth into the 3D world. Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 also says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Being made in God's image means, what does this mean? We inherit God's creative ability. When you imagine, you create just as God did. Okay, now Abdullah is going deep with these scriptures. He's saying that if you really believe that God made you in his image, What does that mean? If you're made in God's image, that means you inherit God's creative ability. You inherit God's power. If the Holy Spirit lives inside you, I really want you to get this. If the Holy Spirit lives inside you, if God is within you, abundance is your birthright. If you really believe this stuff, that means you have the same power of God. You have the same creative power as God. When you imagine, you create just as God did when he created the heavens and the universe. You have the same power. And Jesus said this when he came to earth as well. All the miracles he performed, you can do as well. And he said you can do even more. Okay, this is why this is going so deep. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is a law of assumption. Okay, now some of us know the law of assumption. Law of assumption, really brief here, is what you assume to be true will be true. Okay, what you assume is going to come into your reality, like the law of belief. What you believe to be true is true for you. What you believe to be true will be shown to you in your reality. The ultimate truth Abdullah revealed is that reality is governed by the law of assumption. What's the law of assumption? This universal law states that whatever you assume to be true about yourself and about your life becomes your reality. Let me highlight this for you. This is what law of assumption means, really in the eyes of Abdullah, as far as through research. This universal law, the law of assumption, is a universal law, states that whatever you assume to be true about yourself and about your life becomes your reality. It has to happen to you, positive and or negative. Unlike wishful thinking, assuming, is a deliberate act of faith. Okay, again, we played with this word faith. It's a deliberate act of belief. When you assume you are already the person you wish to be, your subconscious mind works to bring that assumption into reality. Let me repeat that to you, because I really want you to understand this. It's not enough just to listen to this stuff one time and you think you get it, you think you understand it. What we have to understand is if things are happening in your life that you don't like, if you're not living your best life, what that means to you, if you're not living life exactly on your terms, well, you don't understand this material as best as you can. Okay, something's missing, and it's missing in this information. When you assume you are already the person you wish to be, your subconscious mind works to bring that assumption into reality. Abdullah demonstrated this truth to Neville when he told him to assume he was already in Barbados. Even though Neville lacked the money to make the trip, by living in the end, feeling as though the trip was already accomplished, Neville was able to manifest the journey effortlessly. And Neville, if you listen to Neville's recordings, Neville talks about this all the time. This is one of the main examples Neville uses. That Neville was in New York at the time. It's been years since he's been home. This was during the Great Depression, and he wanted to travel to Barbados, but Neville didn't have no money. And this is when Abdullah was mentoring Neville. So Abdullah told Neville, even though you're in New York, when you go to bed at night in your bed in New York, in your imagination, you act as if you're laying in your bed in Barbados. Okay? As you walk the streets of New York, you pretend you're walking the streets in Barbados. You're already there. And Abdullah went a step further and said, if you can see it in your imagination, it's already occurred. This is why this stuff is so powerful. You really have to come to believe if you can see it in your imagination, if you can see yourself in your dream house in your imagination, you can have it in your 3D world. If you can see yourself driving your dream car, you can have it. You can see yourself rich and wealthy with millions of dollars. That can happen as well. And that's what Abdullah was teaching Neville in this example right here with Barbados. Abdullah's teaching to live in the end aligns with the biblical principle of faith and believing you have already received your desires. Now, we're not going to go so much in living in the end, but this is an example when Neville teaches about living in the end. What living in the end really means is this example, okay? Neville wanted to go to Barbados. He didn't have the money to go to Barbados. He had no means to go to Barbados. But Abdullah told him, walk the streets of New York like you're walking the streets of Barbados. You're already there. If you can see it in your imagination, you already went to Barbados. You've already been there. When you go to bed at night, when you lay in your bed in New York, well, laying your bed like you're laying your bed in Barbados. That's living in the inn. So what Abdullah is teaching is living in the inn. What's living in the inn? You act as if what you have already occurred. You already have that dream house. You're already living in your dream house. That's living in the inn. And this aligns with the biblical principle. This aligns with the Bible. Okay, let's pull up a couple verses about this. Mark chapter 11, verse 24. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Now this is kind of a famous verse. Is you basically ask, believe, and receive. I think most of us have heard these verses. No matter if you want to believe them or not, you ask, believe, and receive. So the verse says this, then we're kind of talk about the verse a little bit. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. What does that mean? This verse reflects the core of Abdullah's message. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and act as if it is already yours. This is directly out of the Bible. It's directly saying, ask, believe you already have it, and you're going to receive it. This is a core training of Abdullah, training Neville. This is the core training of Neville Goddard. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and act as if it's already yours. And it has to come to you. It has to come to you by law. Romans chapter 4, verse 17. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even God, who quickeneth the dead, and caused those things which be not as though they were. And this is the kind of the climax of this verse. Even God, who quickeneth the dead, and caused those things which be not as though they were. What does this verse mean? This verse highlights the power of calling forth unseen realities as though they already exist, a practice central to Abdullah's teachings. Okay, this is living in the end. This is kind of going deeper and deeper into what living in the end really means. The power of calling forth unseen realities, though they already exist. You have the power to do this. Jesus even said this to his disciples. All the miracles you see me performing, you can do as well, and you can do even more. Whatever life that you want, you can call that into existence. All you have to do is believe. That's all you have to do. The law of belief. Go inside your imagination, live in your imagination, and it has to come to you. Number four, circumstances are not the truth. Okay, now this is the one where we're really going to get a lot out of, because circumstances are not the truth. What this means is we all go through circumstances. We all have things happen to us, sometimes daily, that we don't like. Okay, this is what circumstances are. One of Abdullah's most liberating insights was that circumstances do not define you. Isn't that so powerful? Circumstances do not define you. They are merely reflections of your previous thoughts and beliefs. And I kind of brought this up earlier, but your circumstances you're going through right now, there are merely reflections of your previous thoughts and beliefs. While they may seem fixed, they are not the ultimate truth. You have the power to change them by changing your internal state. Isn't it so true? If you don't like what's going on right now in your world, what this is saying, circumstances are not the truth. If you don't like what's happening right now in your life, you don't like how your life is going, you don't like where you're at, you're not living the life of your dreams. What this is saying is, one, it's recognizing that this is all previous thoughts and beliefs that you have. So what's manifesting in reality right now that you don't like, That's just all from past thoughts and beliefs and imaginations that's reflecting your world right now. But the great news is, the ultimate news is, you have the power to change it. It's not fixed. Okay, you have the power to change it. It's not the ultimate truth. You have the power to change them by changing your internal state. Okay, for example, if you're facing financial difficulties, the truth is not your current lack of money. The truth is your potential of unlimited wealth. Isn't that truth? Abundance is yours. Abundance is your birthright. If you start believing this, abundance is my birthright. Heaven is within me. God is within me. Jesus came to preach abundance. Okay, God wants abundance for me. Okay, when you truly start believing this, you develop affirmations about unlimited wealth. Abundance is mine. I'm a millionaire. Every time I go out and spend money, it comes back to me double. You start developing these affirmations, and sooner or later, those things will start coming into your life. What you don't like going on in your life right now, you have the power to change it. I have the power to change it. If you're experiencing loneliness, the truth is not your current isolation. The truth is your ability to attract love and connection. When you embrace the truth that you are the creator, you stop being the victim of your circumstances and begin to consciously shape your life. This is why I said in the beginning, you have to take personal responsibility. You have to come to the terms that if you don't like something happening in your life, you have created it, but you also have the power to change it. I'll read this to you one more time. When you embrace the truth that you are the creator, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and you begin to consciously shape your life. The Bible echoes this truth. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Powerful. What does this verse mean? This verse reminds us to focus on the unseen truth of our desires, not the fleeting conditions of the external world. Let's take this a little bit deeper. You might be living in an apartment. You could be living in the poorest part of the city, but you go inside. You recognize this truth, and you go inside your imagination, and you're living in your dream house inside your imagination. You're calling the unseen into the seen inside your imagination. And this simple truth that you're doing has to manifest to you. You don't know how it's going to happen. You're not controlling the how. You don't know how you're going to get the money. But you know it has to happen. It has to come to you. I'll read it to you one more time. This verse reminds us to focus on the unseen truth of our desires, not the fleeting conditions of the eternal world. Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8 through 9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, said the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Powerful. God's thoughts operate beyond human logic. I want you to think about this. This is so powerful. God's thoughts operate beyond human logic. That's why when you influence your subconscious mind, your nickname for your subconscious mind is your spiritual mind. That's the direct link between you and God. If God's thoughts operate beyond human logic, the subconscious mind is, remember, the subconscious mind is not logical. Your subconscious mind doesn't follow a sequence of current events. Your subconscious mind just gives you what you give it. And what it means not logical, the great news is, what I mean by that is, let's say you want your dream house, you go inside your imagination. You know exactly what you want, exactly to the T what your dream house is, what it looks like, all the rooms. You're living in your dream house inside your imagination. Once you influence your subconscious mind is very, very illogical. It's not logical. It's illogical, meaning it's not going to take you from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. It's not going to take you like, well, I have to live in an apartment first. Then I have to live in a condo first. Then I have to live in a beat up house first. Then I have to live in a fixer upper first. Then finally I can go to my dream house. No, that's logic. That's your conscious mind. Once you influence your subconscious mind can take you from living in an apartment directly to living in your dream house. That's illogic. This is God's thoughts operate beyond human logic, affirming that your faith in the unseen can override current circumstances. This is the power that you have, affirming that your belief in the unseen, your belief in your imagination can override current circumstances. Number 5, the unity of the divine and human. What does this mean? Unity of the divine. Divine means God, higher consciousness, and human, a human being. Abdullah's ultimate truth emphasizes that there is no separation between the human self and the divine. You are God in human form, expressing yourself through this physical experience. And we brought this up a little bit in the beginning when we talked a little bit about, if you grew up in a Christian household, if you can remember way back how most of us are taught, no matter how old we are, God is separate from us. We are separate from God, even though in the Bible it says the Holy Spirit lives inside you, the heaven is within you, but we still think that God's a separate entity. God lives on the cloud somewhere up in the heavens with the Care Bears. Okay, this is something how we tend to believe. But Abdullah's ultimate truth emphasizes that there is no separation between you and God. There's no separation between you and the divine. You are God in human form because God lives inside you. You are God in human form, expressing yourself through this physical experience. Now, even today, now some people that teach manifesting, that teach higher consciousness, sometimes they keep God out of it. But lots of times they're teaching stuff, but they keep God out of it, but they still teach spirituality. They still teach along this lines. They still teach that you're a spirit, meaning when you're a spirit and you come to the earth and you choose to come to the earth, if you're a spirit, as a human, you forget the powers that you have. Okay, as a spiritual being, we know how powerful we are. We know that we can call the unseen to the seen. We can have whatever we want. We have the power to do this. But as a human form, as a human being, we forget we have these powers. Okay, they're explaining it in a different way. They're just trying to keep God out of it. But you are God in human form because God lives inside you. Heaven is within you. The Holy Spirit is inside you. The subconscious mind is even nicknamed your spiritual mind. You're directly connected to God. You're directly connected to that spirit. This realization gives you immense power because it means you are not subject to any force outside of yourself. You are not bound by fate and luck. You are not limited by past mistakes or external conditions. You are the architect of your life, equipped with the divine tools of imagination, belief, and assumption. This is powerful. I really want to read this again. But this is powerful for me when I go through this. Is you are not bound by fate and luck. You are not limited by your past mistakes. You're not limited by external conditions. You are the architect of your own life. You have to understand this. You are equipped with the divine tools by God, by the Spirit Himself, of imagination, belief, and assumption. What you assume to be true is true for you. What you assume to believe, that's what's going to come into your world. This truth is both empowering and humbling. Listen to this. This truth, when you really start kind of believing this, it's really powerful. But yet it's humbling. It's a humbling experience. It reminds you that with great power comes great responsibility. You must choose your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions wisely. Listen to this. I'll highlight this for you. You must choose your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions wisely as they shape not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. And the Bible affirms this oneness with God. John chapter 10, verse 34. Jesus answered them, "It is not written in your law, I said, ye are gods." This is something that Neville Goddard uses in a lot of his live lectures and even in his written materials or his written book. They're not really books, but they're more like manuscripts, but they're kind of like books. Listen to this. John chapter 10, verse 34. Now they're questioning Jesus, and Jesus is answering them. It is not written in your law, I said, ye are gods. Jesus confirms that we are divine beings capable of manifesting our desires through the same power of God. This is so powerful. You are a God. Okay, this isn't blasphemy. This isn't saying you are the God. But you are a God because God lives inside you. Okay, God is your father, but God lives inside you. If God lives inside you, it means you have the same power of God. And Jesus answered them, it is not written in your law, I said, ye are gods. Jesus confirms that we are divine beings capable of manifesting our desires through the same power of God, power of God, if I can speak English. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? And I keep on saying this, but I'm saying it in a different way. Like, don't you know? This is what it's saying kind of in my Chad English here. Is, don't you know that you are the temple of God? Your body is a temple of God. Your mind's a temple of God because God lives inside you. Don't you know this? And that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If the Holy Spirit is inside you, the temple of God, you are the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwells in you. This verse reminds us that God's creative spirit resides within us, making us co-creators of our reality. You have the same power of God. You have to understand this. Abundance is yours. Abundance is your birthright. This is one of the main reasons Jesus came to earth is to break this law of karma, to break this law of poverty and this poverty consciousness. Abundance is yours. Abundance is your birthright. As you're on earth, earth is your heaven right now. You can call the unseen into the seen. That's what this means. Number 6 is the power of belief. And the power of belief, we've kind of been explaining this along the way, but the power of belief. Abdullah emphasized unwavering faith in the unseen, rooted in the truth that belief shapes your reality. The Bible repeatedly highlights this principle. Before we go into these couple Bible verses, this is the law of belief. This is why I said in the very beginning, what you believe to be true for you, you will see in your world. Okay? If your parents grew up in poverty, if your grandparents grew up in poverty, if your great-great-grandparents grew up in poverty, and you believe that you're going to grow up in poverty, well, that's going to be shown to you. But if you truly believe you can break that cycle, if you truly believe that poverty ends with me and I'm the king of my family, well, that's going to be shown to you as well. That's what you're going to manifest into your reality. You're going to break that chain. You're going to break that cycle. You're going to break that cycle of poverty. Okay, it really comes down to this is why this stuff is so simple, but yet it can be very, very difficult. The power of belief, the law of belief. Now read it one more time. Abdullah emphasized unwavering faith, unwavering belief, unwavering expectation in the unseen. What's the unseen? Your imagination. Rooted in the truth that belief shapes your reality. What you believe is coming into physical form. No matter good or bad, remember, universal laws have polar opposites. No matter what you believe, if it's good or bad, that's coming to you. Remember, your subconscious mind doesn't play favorites. Remember this, your subconscious mind only takes it as is. It gives you what you gives it. It doesn't overanalyze. It doesn't figure out what's best for you. It's whatever you give it, it's giving you, and it's giving you in your 3D world. That's how your subconscious mind works. Matthew chapter 9, verse 29. Then touched he their eyes, saying, according to your faith, be it unto you. Now, this is a healing miracle from Jesus from Matthew chapter 9, verse 29. As Jesus touched their eyes, he said unto them, according to your faith, be it unto you. Isn't it weird if you go back to the New Testament and you start reviewing and start looking at and you start kind of dissecting the miracles, the healing miracles of Jesus? He always said this. First thing that sticks out to me is that Jesus always said, "Thank thee, Father, that thou hearest me." Like right before he would do a healing miracle or a miracle, he would always give like a gratitude statement. He'd always say, "Thank you, Father, that thou hearest me. Thank you, Father, that you're listening to me. Thank you, Father, that you hear me." And he touched their eyes, and then he went on and say, "According to your faith, according to your belief, according to what you expect, be it unto you." What does this mean? Your life unfolds according to your faith and belief, demonstrating the necessity of trusting in the fulfillment of your desires. You know, when Jesus healed, there's always a connection. He always asked them, according to your faith, be healed. According to your belief, be healed. If you really believed during that time of Jesus that Jesus could heal you, you would be healed. James chapter 1, verse 6. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavers is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. I read this one more time. What does this really mean? But let him ask in faith. But let him ask in belief. Nothing wavering. What does it mean by wavering? You're going back and forth. It's like you're indecisive. You're not making a firm commitment. You don't, when you say like, let him ask in faith, let him ask in belief, let him ask in expectation. Nothing wavering. You're not wavering your thoughts. It's like you want your dream house, you want your dream car, but you have your little toe in the swimming pool. You just you stretch your body, you stretch your whole body, you just put your big toe in the pool, but you're not running and just doing a cannonball into the deep end of the pool. Okay? This is where a lot of us make a mistake, is because we don't make a firm commitment. We don't make a firm decision. Okay, our plan A might be our dream house, but we also have a plan B, C, and D. And most of the time, if you think about this, your plan B, you give more energy to plan B than you really do to plan A, your dream house. Because deep down to your belief, you're thinking, well, plan B, I can really do. And that's what's shown to you, because you're not making a committed decision. You're not really believing that you can have your dream house. Okay, this might be something you might not want to hear, but remember that you can have whatever you want. You can change it. You can change any state. If you don't like what's happening in your world, boom, you can change it. But let him ask in faith. Let him ask in belief, nothing wavering. Then Jesus went on and said, for he that wavers is like a wave of the sea, driven by the wind and tossed. Meaning, when you're not making a firm commitment, you're not making a firm decision. He's given kind of a parable of like a wave in the ocean. And what happens to a wave in the ocean? The wave in the ocean is driven by the wind, and you're tossed back and forth. You're not making a firm decision. You don't know what you want. That's why you're not getting what you want, because it creates confusion in the universe. This verse underscores the importance of persistence and unwavering belief in your ability to create. When you make a decision, you make a firm decision. Even Bob Proctor, I've been going back to Bob Proctor. I've been mentored personally by Bob Proctor before he passed away, or 3, 4, 5 years before he passed away. But even Bob Proctor, going back to a lot of stuff Bob Proctor talks about, Bob Proctor, so much of his trainings talks about making a decision, that most of us don't make a decision. Most of us don't make a committed decision. Okay, our decisions are basically half-ass. Okay, it's not a committed decision. It's just like a wish. Okay, you want your dream house isn't a committed decision, because deep down, you're giving so much energy to a fixer-upper. But that fixer-upper is what comes to you because that's what you really believe that you expect. That's what you really believe that you deserve, that you don't deserve this dream house. So a committed decision, really a committed decision, is there is no plan B, C, and D. You have to understand this. That's a committed decision. If I make a committed decision, there is no plan B. I give no energy to plan B. I give all my energy to plan A, and plan A is what I exactly want, what I exactly want for my life. Does that make sense, my friends? Now let's read this conclusion, the conclusion of embracing this ultimate truth with Abdullah. And this is to wrap it up a little bit. Abdullah's teachings reveal a timeless truth rooted in Scripture. You are the creator of your reality. Do you really believe even going through, if you lasted this long in this video, and those of you who lasted this long in this video, you really want things to happen. You really want things to work. You're really trying to figure this stuff out. You are the creator of your reality. This is what you have to really get. This is what you have to get to the core of yourself, is I can create anything I want in my life. By aligning your divine nature, mastering your imagination, and living in faith, living in belief, living in expectation, you can manifest the life you desire. The Bible confirms that God's power works through you, empowering you to transcend circumstances, claim your desires, and live a life of abundance and fulfillment. This ultimate truth invites you to step into your role as a divine co-creator. You're a divine co-creator because the divine is inside you. God is within you. The Holy Spirit is inside you. Your body, your whole body, your mind is a temple of God. What comes with that is God's power, the divine's power. And I'll back up a little bit. The Bible confirms that God's power works through you, empowering you to transcend circumstances, claim your desires, and live a life of abundance and fulfillment. This ultimate truth invites you to step into your role as a divine co-creator and embrace the infinite potential within you. And that, my friends, let's wrap this up. That was the conclusion of kind of wrapping everything together. We have been going on for quite a while here, but when you're diving into law of attraction, law of assumption, you're trying to figure things out. You're trying to manifest your dream life. You don't like things what's going on, okay? And sometimes it's not that you don't like things what's going on, but you want more for your life, okay? That's abundance. You're always going to want more, and that's okay. That's abundant. That's what you have to understand. It's okay to have your dream house. It's okay to have these things, no matter what it is that you want. We all want different things. We all want different aspects of our life. But when you sit down and say, I want to live life on my terms. Okay, this is what Abdullah taught Neville, is living life on your terms, and you can call what you want into existence. But you really have to believe it. It really comes down to God is inside you. Your Father lives inside you. Abundance is yours. Abundance is your birthright. The Holy Spirit is within me. I am the temple of the Holy Ghost. I am the temple of God. You really have to believe that, because when you start really believing that I can call what I want into existence, I can have what I want, you start becoming more confident. Okay, look at it this way, is that if you grew up rich and you had really rich and wealthy parents, wouldn't you think that you would be carrying yourself different? Wouldn't you think your imagination and what you believe for you and your standards you have for your life, wouldn't you think you would be different? Because you would have different standards, because your standards are coming from your wealthy parents. Okay, you're mimicking your wealthy parents. Okay, they're making $1 million or more a year. That's why I'm saying that is wealthy. Your parents make $1 million or more a year. They live in $1 million. Their house is $1 million. Okay, they're driving maybe not the most expensive cars, but they're driving Porsches. They're driving higher end cars or higher end SUVs. Okay, but what is really taught to you is that standard of living from your wealthy parents. That's really what's taught for you. Okay, you would be carrying yourself different. You'd be carrying yourself, well, my dad's wealthy. Okay, my dad's gonna help me. Even if you get a wealthy child or a wealthy kid gets into trouble, his first thought is, I'm gonna call dad. I'm gonna call my parents. He's gonna get me out of it. Okay, but that's the same thing you should be doing when God is inside you. A king is inside you. Your Father is a king. Your Father created this whole universe. This is the confidence you have to have, is that my Father will give it to me. Your Father wants to give you everything you desire. That is heaven. That is heaven on earth. You can call what you want into existence. Your father wants to give you everything. Your father's a king. That's what you have to understand. Because you would do the same thing if your parents were millionaires, if your parents were ultra wealthy, and you're the kid. Okay, maybe it's you and you have brothers and sisters, but you all would adopt that standard of living for yourself. You would all have that over somebody who grew up in poverty or over somebody who grew up in middle class. That's why wealthy parents or wealthy kids of wealthy parents, they kind of have the edge of life a little bit. They're ahead of you a little bit. They're not ahead of you finances. They're not ahead of you, but how they're ahead of you, I really want you to walk away with this. How they're ahead of you is their standards that they have for their life, because they learned those standards by their wealthy parents. You have to understand this. That's the only separation, is what they believe to be true for them and their standard of life they have for themselves. That's the only difference. But you can adopt that standard because you have a king inside you. God is within you. You have the spirit inside you. That's your subconscious mind. That's your direct link to God. You can have whatever you want. Okay? That's what you have to firmly understand. You have to reread this stuff and listen to this stuff over and over and over and over again until you wake up one day and you get it. And you get it at a deep level. But other than that, my friends, that's how we want to wrap it up. Thanks for sticking around. If you made it this long in this video, more power to you. I know this is a long one, at least an hour long. But blessings to you. Comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, reach out. Other than that, blessings to you, and I'll see you in the next video.